Joining us here on the show is a guy that has led this team to a Mountain West championship last year. He gets another crack at San Diego State just like last year. Quarterback, senior Brett Rypien. Brett, good morning. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. This is a great atmosphere.
Let's hear it for Brett, everybody. This is head coach Hardison join us on the show. And last year, you guys went to San Diego, and they had this great crowd. They had the alums come through, and Marshall Falk, the luminaries. You guys laid a curtain on them. You won all three phases, defense, offense, special teams. I asked Coach if that was the most complete game you guys have played last season. He said, probably so. You didn't have a great statistical game, but offensively, you guys ran the football really well. Did you feel like, all told, that was a great team win for you guys?
For sure, yeah. I think on all three levels, like you said, we scored on special teams. Our defense played unbelievable, and we were able to run the ball really well that night. And San Diego State's got a great defense. You know that every single year coming into it. So, they're going to try to keep our offense off the field, running the ball, and we have to take our chances when we get them.
You came out of the state of Washington as a highly touted recruit, highly touted high school quarterback. What was the draw to come to Boise State?
I think the winning tradition. Obviously, Coach Harson's staff was new when I came here, and just felt a great vibe, from the city, from the program, and haven't looked back as the best decision I've ever made coming here.
When you came, what was the connection with Coach Harsin and the staff that made you feel comfortable or made you feel like, I want to play for those guys? Because that's such a huge part of deciding where to play.
I think just, the way Coach Harsin conducts himself, he's so businesslike, and, every day he comes in with an attitude of getting better, and there's not a whole lot of joking around and a whole lot of that going on. So I think that's what, really attracted me, and, it's been the same ever since I've gotten here. We come in every day with a work-like mentality. We know when to joke and when to kind of turn that on and turn that off a little bit, but, the winning tradition is, it's no surprise the way that we work around here.
Boise State quarterback Brett Rypien is our guest here on the show. When you have a quarterback, or when you have a classroom teacher or a principal that doesn't joke, doesn't smile, you always try to get them to smile a little bit, crack a joke. As a quarterback, can you make Coach smile just a little bit? Is there anything you can do?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's times, we're just hanging around the facility, we're joking around and, keeping it light and all that. But, at the same time, when it's time for ball, it's time for ball. And, we're dialed in for the most part.
What player on the team can make Coach laugh?
Probably Curtis Weaver or Avery Williams. Those guys can they can pretty much make anyone laugh.
Okay, they keep it light around the locker room.
Yeah, for sure.
San Diego State has a coach in Rocky Long that's going to send a lot of exotic defensive looks at you. You saw this last year. How do you make sure you're prepared against that going into tomorrow's game?
I think it's just, IDing their defense, which is one of the hardest things to do because they're very unique in the way that they're going to put guys in different places. Obviously, with the Aztec player that they have, they put him in a lot of different spots. At the end of the day, you're really getting to some base coverages, cover 4, cover 1, low cover 3 mixed in there. So it's just really IDing, who's going to be the blitzers and, knowing where the coverage guys are and what their responsibilities are.
There are two different ways winning teams can go about getting to where they want to go. Either they identify their goal and are not scared about saying it, or they just do what the Patriots do. We don't talk about the Super Bowl. We talk about next week. We talk about next Sunday on to Cincinnati. Have you guys said we want to get to a New Year's Six bowl game? Or do you take the Patriots approach? We just look at the opponent coming up on Saturday.
I think we take it 1 week at a time. When you start to get too far ahead of yourselves, if you let those little details slip in practice, you start thinking about, the final outcome instead of the day-to-day process, and that's getting better every single day. And, if you're able to do that, especially in college football with all the injuries and things that happen, you start to build depth. Guys can come in and play better right away, and, the results are going to take care of themselves.
When I was a senior in college, I remember everything began feeling like the last time I was going to do this. Every time I went to my favorite pizza place, or every time I went to that house for a party, or every time I slept through that class, I said, this is the last time I will ever do this. Do you start saying that in the middle of this season? Oh boy, this might be the last time I do this.
Yeah, you definitely think about those things. The first home game here, knowing that was my last home game, so It's a different feeling for sure. You want to take advantage of every single moment you get because you know this is your last year. So, I definitely realize that and try to make the most of it.
How do you try to make the most of it? Because you're a hard worker by nature. So what is it that you push to the next level to say, I'm really going to soak everything out of this?
Maybe just trying to be a better leader, helping those young guys out, making sure, I'm leaving the program in a better place than it already was. So I think that's the main thing for me is, trying to help those young guys out, being a great leader on and off the field, and, making sure that, like I said, I'm leaving it in a better spot that, I came in as.
Do you want to leave it in a better spot because you're grateful for the opportunity, because you respect the coaching staff of the program? What is it that connects you to that?
Yeah, I think it's, I'm very grateful for the opportunity. It's something that, I haven't taken for granted at all. Playing here has been, a blessing that, I never would have thought of, growing up in Spokane, and I never really thought about coming down to Southern Idaho, but, it's been awesome. This community is great, as you can see, and, I definitely want to leave the program, like I said, in a better place just for, the people and then the people around the facility as well, the players that I got, and the guys that I play with.
The last name Rypien is very familiar to a lot of football fans because your uncle won Super Bowl MVP back in 1991 with Washington. You ever get sick of questions about your uncle?
No, not really. I think I'm used to it at this point.
Yeah.
When you play the same sport that he did, he had such great success. At the position, it's just going to come with it.
Do you ever watch film of that Super Bowl and say, boy, that really looks like a long time ago?
Yeah, I think when I first watched it, I was really young. I think I was only like 4 or 5, and I still had the VHS at home.
Yeah.
And I didn't really see it not long ago back then, but going back and watching it now, you're like, this is almost 30 years ago now. So, which is crazy to think about, but it's been a while. But at the same time, just seeing him playing on that stage was just something I think that really attracted me to the sport.
I know, it's interesting because sometimes I'll go back and I'll watch that film as well, if it's on NFL Network, NFL Films, look through some pictures, and that was the era of like Zubaz and really puffy hats, and now that fashion is coming back.
Yep.
But watching it back then, you're like, boy, that was really corny.
Yeah, it didn't look good on a few people back then, but I think the people that do it nowadays definitely know how to rock it for sure.
What are you most excited about tomorrow against San Diego State?
It's a gate game for sure.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be fun. Get the crowd out there early. I haven't actually played in a true fall game day. I think we had one last year versus Troy, but it kind of felt like summer. It was so hot out there. So I'm excited. It's gonna be a fun atmosphere. Like I said, San Diego's great opponent. They got a great defense, that we've been watching all week, and we're looking forward to the challenge.
Yeah, it's kind of the perfect football weather, right? It's kind of like high 50s, low 60s, crisp in the air. It's going to feel like football tomorrow. 1:30 local kick. That should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be great.
Brett Rypien, quarterback of the Boise State Broncos. Let's hear it for Brett. Thanks so much. Congratulations on the career already, and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right. Brett Rypien joining us here at the Boise State Broncos shop at Albertson Stadium. Awesome stuff.